Hello dear students, today we are going to do the second chapter of the book, The Snapshot, and the chapter is The Address, written by Marga Minko. Actually, this chapter is a short story written by the writer, and during the World War II, when Germany invaded Holland, these two, both mother and daughter, they flee from there, and after that her mother died. And before dying, she gave an address to her daughter, and in this story, the daughter comes to meet the person in that address. So let us start now. "Do you still know me?" I asked. The woman looked at me searchingly. She has opened the door a chink. So the writer reads to the address and asks, "Do you still know me?" The woman looked at me searchingly. So she said the woman who came from inside, she was looking at me searchingly. She had opened the door a chink, and she did not open full door. She opened just little part of the door. I came closer and stood on the step. "No, I don't know you. I am Mrs. S. daughter." And that lady who came from inside, she said, "No, I don't know." And the writer said, "I am Mrs. S. daughter." She held her hand on the door as though she wanted to prevent it opening any further, and she was holding the door in the way that she did not want it to open it full, and she did not want that writer to come inside. Her face was absolutely no sign of recognition. She kept staring at me in the silence, and it was looking like that she was giving expression like that she did not recognize the writer, and she kept looking at her in silence. Perhaps I was mistaken. I thought, perhaps it isn't her. And the writer was thinking, maybe I have made a mistake. Maybe this lady is not that one whom my mother asked me to meet. I had seen her only once, fleetingly. She said, "I have seen her only once. I didn't, just for a, fleetingly means just for a moment. I saw her just for a moment many years ago, and that was years ago, many years ago. So maybe I have made a mistake." It was most probable that I had rung the wrong bell, and writer was thinking that maybe I have come to the wrong address. The woman let go of the door and stopped at the side. She was wearing my mother's green knitted cardigan. She was standing at the side, and when writer paid attention, she saw that the cardigan, the sweater which she was wearing, it was her mother's. The wooden buttons were rather pale from washing. She saw that I was looking at the cardigan, and half hid herself again behind the door. So when I looked at the cardigan, I was looking at the buttons of the cardigan. They were looking very fade, maybe after washed, and she thought that I was looking at her cardigan, so she hid herself behind the door. But I knew now that I was right. But writer could understand that this sweater is of my mother, so I am in the correct address. "Well, you knew my mother?" I asked. Again she asked the lady, "I think you knew my mother." "Have you come back?" said the woman. I thought that no one had come back, only me. And she was asking me, "Are you back?" I thought that no one had come back. And she said, "Are you back?" I thought that nobody will come back, only me. A door opened. Only me. The door opened and closed in the passage behind her. A musty smell emerged. "I regret, I cannot do anything for you." So she said, "No, I cannot do anything for you. I have come here especially on the train. I wanted to talk to you for a moment." So writer said to the lady, "I wanted to talk to you. I have come here on the train from so far just to talk to you." "It is not convenient for me now," said the woman. "I can't see you another time. I can see you another time." So she said, "No, right now I'm not comfortable talking to you. Let's see, afterwards we will meet." She nodded and cautiously closed the door as though no one inside the house should be disturbed. And she said this. After that she moved her head and very cautiously means very slowly, and she closed the door. Being very careful, she closed the door, and she wanted that whoever is inside the door should not be disturbed. I stood where I was on the step. The curtain in front of the bay window moved. She said, where I was standing on the step, I was standing there, and the curtain near the bay window means large window, it was moving. Someone stared at me and would then have asked what I wanted. "Oh, nothing," the woman would have said. It was nothing. So it was looking like somebody would have asked me, what do you want? And that woman would say, okay, it was nothing. I looked at the name plate again. "Darling," it said. And what was written in the nameplate? It was written Darling. In black letters on white enamel, black letter, it was written, and white color paint, with the white color paint. And on the jab, a bit higher, the number 46. And on the side of the door, it was written number 46. As I walked slowly back to the station, I thought about my mother, who had given me the address years ago. Now, that lady was not ready to talk to the writer, so she came back. And on the way, she was thinking about her mother. It had been in the first half of the war. I was home for a few days, and it struck me immediately that something or other about the room had changed. So it was now she was thinking about the days when her mother was alive. She said, when I came back home, I thought that I looked in the room that something is missing in my room. So many things were missing in my room. My mother was surprised. My mother was surprised I should have noticed so quickly, and my mother was thinking that she was very surprised to know that I have noticed so quickly that things are missing from our home. Then she told me about Mrs. Darling. I had never heard of her, but apparently she was an old acquaintance of my mother. She said, before that I have never heard of that, but it was clear that she was my mother's acquaintance. My mother knew her, whom she had not seen for years. She had suddenly turned up and renewed their contact. Since then she had come regularly. Every time she leaves her, she takes something home with her, said my mother. So my mother said, every time when she is in our neighbor now, and every time when she comes to our home, she takes something. She took all the table silver in one go. And mother told her that once she came and took all the silver, whatever silver utensils, maybe spoons and things would be there, she has taken all. And then the antique plate that hung there. After that, she took the antique plate, decoration plate, which was hung there. She had trouble lugging those large vessels, and I am worried she got cricked in her back from the crockery. And mother was so innocent that she said she has taken our vases also, and that time she had a little stain on her back, and I am worried because of our crockery she had a stain, crick in her back. My mother shook her head pityingly. She was feeling very pity on her because she, while taking the things, she had crick in her back. I would never have dared ask her. She suggested it to me herself, and she said, mother said, I never dared to ask her why she's doing this, and why she's taking all the things from here. She even insisted. She wanted to save all my nice things. So she said, okay, maybe she wanted to keep my all the things nicely in her home. If we have to leave here, we shall lose everything, she says. Have you agreed with her that she should keep everything? I asked. The writer asked, did you agree with her that she should keep all our belongings with her? As if that's necessary, my mother cried. It would simply be an insult to talk like that. She said, no, I never did this, because if I would do this, this would be an insult of her. And think about the risk she is running. Each time she goes out our door with a full suitcase or a bag. And mother was thinking that, see how much risk she takes. She takes over all the things in a suitcase full suitcase or a bag, and she goes from there. And that also is very tough for her to take from here. So I never dare to ask her why she keeps all the things with. So we have done yesterday. The writer went to the address which was given to her by her mother before she died. When she went to meet in that address, the lady was there, but she pretended not to recognize her. And after that, writer came back. She was going to the station, and after that she was thinking about the days when my mother used to tell that lady used to take all the things from their home. My mother seemed to notice that I was not entirely convinced. She looked at me reprovingly, and after that we spoke no more about it. So when she asked mother why she's taking the thing, and that, the mother said, I did not ask her about this. And mother knew also whatever my mother told me, I was not convinced. After that she looked at me like in a scolding look, angry look, and then we did not speak. Meanwhile, I had arrived at the station without having paid much attention to the things on the way. She was coming back to the station, so she said, I did not pay attention in anything on the way. I was walking in familiar place again for the first time since the war. And she said, for the first time after so many years, after the war got over, I was walking on the same street, same familiar street. But I did not want to go further than was necessary. I did not want to upset myself with the sight of a street and house full of memories from a precious time. She said, I did not want to see this place more, because if I will see it, I will be upset, because she must be having lots of memory with that place, because that time would be very precious when she would be with her mother and enjoying in that place. In the train back, I saw Mr. Darling in front of me again, as I had the first time I met her. Now, when she came back, she was in the train, and again she started thinking about that lady. It was the morning after the day my mother had told me about her. I had got up late and coming downstairs. So that was the morning time, and writer said I got up late that day and I was coming downstairs. I saw my mother about to see someone out, a woman with a broad back. And when I came down from the staircase, so my mother was talking to somebody one woman was there with a broad back. There is my daughter, said my mother. She beckoned me, and she told her that she is my daughter. The woman nodded and picked up the suitcase under the coat rack. And she moved her head and took the suitcase from the stand and went. She wore a brown coat and a shapeless hat. Does she live far away? I asked, seeing the difficulty she had going out of the house with the heavy key. So it was very difficult for her to carry the suitcase. So the writer asked, does she live far away? In Marconi Street, said my mother. Number 46, remember that. I had remembered it, but I had waited a long time to go there. Initially, after the liberation, I was absolutely not interested in all that store stuff. She said, I remember this, but after the liberation means after the freedom, I was not interested in those all the things which she has taken. And naturally, I was also rather afraid of it. Afraid of being confronted with the things that had belonged to a connection that no longer exists. And she said, actually I was afraid also. I did not want to go there because I was afraid to connect with the things which no longer existed, because her mother was no more and she was dead, and that's why she must be afraid of seeing those things again which will remind her mother, which were hidden away in cupboards and boxes and waiting in vain until they were put back to their place again, which had endured all those years because they were things. And she said the things would be waiting there in the boxes and the cupboards to go back in the place again. After all, they were things. They could wait, but human cannot wait. My mother did not wait. But gradually everything became normal again. Bed was getting to be lighter color. There was a bed you could sleep in, unthreatened, a room with a view. You were more used to glancing at each day. So she said after the war everything was good. They were getting the bread, lighter colored bread. They had a bed also to sleep without being afraid, and they had a room also from where they can see the view every day. And one day I noticed I was curious about all the possessions that must still be at that address. I wanted to see them, touch, remember. And once again she became curious to see those things and go there in that address again. And after my first visit in vain to Mr. Darling's house, I decided to try a second time. And again she went to see them. Now a girl of about 15 opened the door to me. Now mother was not there, one girl was there. I asked her if her mother was at home. No, she said, my mother is doing an errand. She said, no, my mother is not there, she is doing some work. No matter, I said, I will wait for her. And the writer said, no problem, I will wait for her. I followed the girl along the passage. An old-fashioned iron Hanukkah candle holder hung next to a mirror. So when she was there, she saw that old-fashioned one Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the festival, actually Hebrews festival in December. So that candle holder was hung next to a mirror. We never used it because it was much more cumbersome than a single candlestick. And she said we never used it because it was difficult to manage it, and we never used that one. It was heavy also, so we could not use it. Then a single candlestick, because carrying a single candlestick is easy, and that was very heavy to carry. Okay, we have done in the last page that writer went to the address and the women pretended not to recognize her. She went back and suddenly some feeling came to her that I should go again. So again she went to the same address, and there she met a daughter of that lady. I followed the girl along the passage. An old-fashioned iron Hanukkah candle holder hung next to a mirror. So again she went there, and when she went inside, there was a Hanukkah candle. Hanukkah is the festival of Jews. So in that they must be having the candle holder there, that in that festival. So that was hung there. We never used it because it was much more cumbersome than a single candlestick. So girl said, we don't use this candlestick because it is cumbersome, means heavy to carry. So we use single one. Want to sit down? Asked the girl. She held open the door of the living room and I went inside past her. So the girl asked her to sit down and she went inside to sit. I stopped horrified. Now she was horrified. She was surprised to see what I was in a room I knew and I did not know. She said, I was in a room I knew and I did not know. Means she was in the room where when she saw all the things kept there, she knew all the things. But she did not know the room, but she felt like she is among the things all around which are her own. I found myself in the midst of the thing I did want to see again, but which oppressed me in the strange atmosphere. She said these were the things I wanted to see, but I was feeling very oppressed. Oppressed means trouble in that atmosphere, or because of the tasteless way everything was arranged, because of the ugly furniture or the muggy smell that hung there. She said it was looking very odd to be there because the way they arranged it was not good, and there was furniture also was looking very ugly, and the muggy smell means that we get the smell from the wet clothes, no? That one smell was there because maybe these things were not clean from so many days, and that's why they were smelling. I don't know, but I scarcely dared to look around me. The girl moved a chair. I sat down and stared at the woolen tablecloth. So she was sitting there, and in front of the chair there was a table, and there was a tablecloth. I rubbed it. My fingers grew warm from rubbing. So she recognized that the tablecloth was her, and she started rubbing her hand in that and started feeling it actually. I followed the lines of the pattern where somewhere on the edge there should be a burn mark that had never been repaired. Now she was looking for that burn mark which was in their tablecloth so that she can be confirmed that that tablecloth belongs to her. My mother will be back soon, said the girl. I have already made tea for her. Will you have a cup? So she asked her, my mother will be back soon and I have prepared tea for her. Do you also want to have tea? Thank you. I looked up. The girl put cups ready on the tea table. She had a broad bag and she brought the tea and kept the tea table ready with the cups. And she also has a broad bag like her mother, just like her mother. She poured tea from a white pot. All it had was a gold border on the lid. I remember. She opened a box and took some spoons out. So whatever things were there she was showing to her, they all belonged to that girl the writer. That's nice box. I heard my own voice. It was a strange voice, as though its sound was different in this room. So when she saw the box, the writer saw the box, then voice came from inside. That's a nice box because that voice was from her inside. She recognized that box also belonged to her. And that she thought that the voice is coming totally strange. She heard a strange voice, as though each sound was different in this room. And that sounds were, it was looking totally different in the room because she was thinking it again and again. Oh, you know about them. She had turned round and brought me my tea. She laughed. My mother said it is antique. So she said, when writer said it's a nice box, and the girl said, okay, you know about this. My mother told me that these are antiques. We have got lots more. She pointed down the room. See for yourself. And she said, we have got lots more. And she was showing it to her. But the girl knew, that writer knew that all the things did not belong to the girl and the lady. It belonged to her. I had no need to follow her hand. I knew which things she meant. I just looked at the still life over the tea table. And she said, writer said, I did not look where she was telling me, pointing me. I was just looking at the tea table. As a child, I had always fancied the apple on the pewter plate. Pewter plate means zinc plate, which is made by zinc. We use it for everything, she said. So she brought the plate also. And that girl said, we use it for everything. Once we even ate off the plates hanging there on the wall. She said the plate, those were hanging on the wall, we once ate also in that plate. I wanted to so much, but it wasn't anything special. I had found the burn mark on the tablecloth. The girl looked questioningly at me. And finally, that writer got the burn mark on the tablecloth. And girl was looking at her like she's confused. She wanted to ask something. Yes, I said. You get so used to touching all these lovely things in the house. You hardly look at them any more. And writer said, you are so used to of touching these all the things, but you hardly look at them any more. You only notice when something is missing because it has to be repaired or because you have lent it, for example. Okay, she told her that you are, yes, I said, you get so used to of touching all these lovely things in the house, you hardly look at them anymore. You just touch them, you don't look at them anymore. You don't even notice when something is missing because it has to be repaired or because you have to lend it. He said because it has to be repaired, but you don't look at that. And it because you have landed it looks like you have landed from somewhere, for example. Again I heard the unnatural sound of my voice and I went on. And she said that time also when I was speaking, my sound was totally different. I remember my mother once asked me if I would help her polish the silver. It was a very long time ago and I was probably bored that day, or perhaps I had to stay home because I was ill, as she had never asked me before. She said, I remember one day my mother asked me to clean the silver, and that day I was at home because I was ill. I asked her which silver she meant, and she replied, surprised, that it was the spoons, forks and knives. So she said, when I asked my mom which silver, she showed me spoons, forks and knives. And that was the strange thing. I did not know the cutlery we ate of every day was silver. And that day she remembered that. But she never noticed about the cutlery. The cutlery was of silver. The girl laughed again. I bet you don't know it is either. I bet you don't know it is either. I looked intently at her. What we eat with? She asked. Well, do you know? She hesitated. She walked to the sideboard and wanted to open a drawer. I will look. It's in the here. And she after that she said actually I also don't know. And she wanted to show her all the things with thing they eat. I jumped up. I was forgetting the time. I must catch my train. And suddenly writer remembered that she has to go back. She had her hand on the drawer. Don't you want to wait for my mother? And she asked, wait for my mother? Don't you want to meet my mother? No, I must go. I walked to the door. The girl pulled the drawer open. I can find my own way. As I walked down the passage, I heard the jingling sound, spoons and forks. So she said, I went from there, but girl was taking out all the spoons and forks from there, and I could hear the voice. At the corner of the road, I looked up at the nameplate. Marconi Street. It said it had been at number 46. So address was same. The address was correct, but now I did not want to remember it anymore. I would not go back there because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of former time instantly lose their values when severed from them. And she said, I don't want to go there again. Why she doesn't want to go there again? I would not go back there because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of former times instantly lose their values when served from them. And she said, because they remind me of my life when I used to live with these things, and suddenly they are cut off. They have been cut off from me, and then I don't feel good. You see them again in strange surrounding. The things like which belong to you, which were your things, and now when you see the things belonging to somebody else, definitely you will feel different and you will be sad to see that. And what should I have done with them in a small rented room where the shred of black out paper still hung along the windows and no more than handful of cutlery fitted in the narrow table and drawers? So she was thinking that what I will do now. I have a rented room, a small room where the paper bits are there, black out paper bits are there, I still hanging in the door, and I have handful means very less cutlery. So I don't need also these things actually. I resolved to forget the address. Of all the things I had to forget, that would be the easiest. And she said, I don't want all the things again. I want these things to be forgotten by me, because whenever I will see them, I will think of them, I will get hurt. Why she will get hurt? Because these she lost her mother, and these all the things, whenever she would see it, that would remind her the day when she used to live with her mother. And because so many memories are attached with these all the things, so that's why she thought that it will be better to forget it. So that's all about this chapter. Hope you must have understood it. If not, please feel free to contact